All right, Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Now, yeah, man, I just wanted to get into a topic that I've been meditating on a lot lately, which is the topic of self-awareness and how that connects to the battle of the carnal mind versus the spiritual mind. Because it's just been something I've been meditating a lot on lately. Lord willing, I can convey my thoughts, through the spirit, through these scriptures, clearly in an edifying way, because I think that it's a pretty deep subject. And, I just want to, just get a couple scriptures, make the point and roll out. But pretty much, self-awareness is extremely crucial for us in this ministry. It's extremely profitable for us. Lord willing, we are the men of the Lord, man. The prophets, the 144, the elect. And even for you few sisters out there that listen, self-awareness is very beneficial, man. And what am I talking about is what? Self-awareness is one of the keys for us to win, consistently the battle, which is what? The battle that is within our own mind, our own members, which is the battle of the spiritual mind versus the carnal mind. And one of the keys to consistently win and choose the spiritual option, which is to be spiritually minded, is what? Self-awareness. Of course, we know prayer, fasting, staying in these scriptures, but ultimately the decision lies within you and you being able to perceive the two decisions that the Lord lays out for you and choose the spiritual option. Because a lot of times, right, and I speak from past experience and present, the more you grow in this truth, the more you understand things, the more you understand, what it means to be spiritual and to try to make the spiritually mature decision. You'll understand that a lot of times, multiple times throughout the day, sometimes all the time, you are fighting the battle of the carnal mind and the spiritual mind. And sometimes you may not have the self-awareness needed to choose the spiritual option. But the scriptures speak on that. And Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm just going to go into that more and break down what I mean. But first, let me get a quick scripture before I get some definitions. Galatians 5:16, it says, "This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh." So walking in the spirit is key, and walk is synonymous with how you live. So it's saying to live in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. And when it says the flesh, is really going into your mind. It's really going into your mind. It's going into the temptations and the influences that come into your mind. And when your mind is influenced, you need the self-awareness, which we all have, but sometimes you may ignore it. We need the self-awareness to choose the spiritual option, to deny your flesh, to deny your carnal mind, and choose the spiritual option. And by doing so, that's going to help us become more spiritually mature, So again, Galatians 5:16, "This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh." So this is the main fight, is the spirit, the spiritual mind versus the carnal mind. And it's going to go into that a little bit more, and I'm going to read more down. But before I do that, I wanted to read this really fast. It says, because remember, this is about self-awareness and how self-awareness, helps us to what? Choose the spiritual option over the carnal option. So what is self-awareness? It says self-awareness I'm going to read this quickly, and I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to read a little bit. It says, self-awareness, the shining star of our emotional intelligence constellation, is the ability to recognize and understand our own emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. It's like having an internal GPS that helps us navigate the twists and turns of our emotional landscape. But here's the kicker. Self-awareness isn't just about knowing what you're feeling. It's about understanding why you're feeling it and how it impacts your actions and relationships. And that's a key part. It says, here's the kicker. It isn't just about knowing what you're feeling. It's about understanding why you're feeling it. Right? And then it gives you some examples. It says, imagine you're at a party and someone makes a joke at your expense, your cheeks flush, your heart races, and you feel a surge of anger. There's where self-awareness kicks in. It's not just about recognizing that you're angry. It's about understanding why that comment triggered you and how your reaction might affect the social dynamics around you. And then it says self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Key points is recognizing emotions and their impact. And that's like your emotional radar, you being able to sense what emotions and feelings come into your mind. It says understanding personal strengths and limitations. It's about knowing when to lean into your superpowers or call for backup, which our superpower is prayer and relying on what? Spirituality, the spiritual option. And then it's identifying your values and emotions. So that's pretty much the point on it. But I just wanted to give a quick summary of what self-awareness is. Pretty much self-awareness, in the word aware, I would get it, but it's a basic word. The word aware just means that you can perceive something, you can see it. So self-awareness is pretty much the ability to perceive and be aware and see your own emotions and feelings and understand how it's impacting your decision making. And how I'm going to tie that in with the scriptures is that when you meditate on self-awareness and this fight that we're going through, you realize that this mind that we have, this carnal mind, that we don't have control over, this carnal mind is always being influenced by different things in this world. And the key is what? We have to have the self-awareness to recognize when this carnal mind is being influenced by different emotions and feelings. And we have to have the self-awareness to not only recognize when our carnal mind is influenced, but we have to have the self-awareness to make the proper decision moving forward when we recognize that something has been changed. When we realize that our emotions or our feelings are being influenced, we have to have the self-awareness to understand why and to make the proper decision. And that's pretty much the whole fight that Galatians 5 verse 16 to the end is going into. It's going into when you have a certain level of self-awareness and your carnal mind is tempted by different influences. And your carnal mind, literally the brain itself, this brain that we have is subject to pleasure and temptation and lust. And it's going to entice you to choose that option. But we got to choose the spiritual option. And that's what I've been meditating on lately. And it's been really powerful, man. Just self-awareness and choosing the spiritual option. Now, real quick, this is James 1, and I'm going to start at 12. It says, blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of the Most High, for the Most High cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren. So what is verse 12 and 15 going over? Is going over how, temptation is the battle that we fight every day. Temptation starts from this mind. Everything begins and ends in the mind. An idea, a thought. You first get the idea, the thought. Maybe something you're going to say. You first hear it in your mind and then you take action on it. So everything starts in the mind. Temptation starts in the mind, and then it's manifested when you give in to the temptation. And it just made me think of when it said that when Job was being tempted by Satan, it said that Job, he sinned. He never sinned with his mouth, meaning he may have had some wicked thoughts, but he didn't actually act on it. He didn't speak on it. Right? But the temptation is what is tempting your mind all the time, man. So we have to fight temptation. And the battle, what is the main battle we fight in this truth? Is the battle against yourself. Is you versus you. The battle is what? This carnal mind, literally this brain, man. Because when you think about it, your brain, your hands, your body, they all move at the command of your brain. Everything starts in your mind. When you move, you breathe, you jump, your brain sends out neuron links or whatever they call it, and controls your whole body. So your brain is subject to what? Temptation and influences and lust. And that's the carnal mind that we have to fight. And then choose what? The spiritual mind, which is us understanding right versus wrong and choosing the right option because of our fear in the Lord, our faith in the Lord. So again, going back to James 1 and 14, it says, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. So this is pretty much what the carnal mind is going to do to you. This wicked, sinful flesh, that we are subject to, these chains of darkness, which starts in your brain, this mere brain, man, mortal brain that we have, tempts us all the time. And it tempts you by way of tempting you with your own lust, and it entices you. Meaning it's like a sweet aroma, and it's like you want to eat it, it's like enticing you, man. Then it says what? Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin. And when sin is finished, it bringeth forth death. So ultimately our carnal mind, this flesh that we're in, is constantly full of temptations that are tempting us to want to indulge in different wicked lusts that this flesh may have. And when you start to indulge in that lust, it brings forth sin. So that's the fight, is to deny the temptation that the carnal mind is putting on you. And a key part of denying that temptation is what? To have self-awareness. Again, what is self-awareness? It's about understanding. It isn't just about knowing what you're feeling. It's about understanding why you're feeling it and how it impacts your actions. Well, now we understand it a little bit more. We understand right versus wrong way more than these wicked people in this world. Okay? We know what our brain feels a lot. What you may feel when you go through something or you have a shift in emotions or feeling, what you're pretty much feeling is the influence of your mind. If I slap you on the face, you're going to be mad because your brain recognized what happened and it processed that information of you getting slapped, and now it's triggering you to be mad. So we know what we're feeling and we understand why we're feeling it. Meaning what? Going back to James 1 and 12, we are tempted, man. We get tempted every day. We get tempted by this carnal mind, and it's trying to make you sin. But now that we've come into this truth, the Lord has given us the self-awareness, the ability to what? Understand and see the difference between right and wrong, which right is the spiritual answer, and the carnal mind is the flesh, the worldly answer. So we have the self-awareness now because we truly understand what is right versus what is wrong. Now we can see, we have the self-awareness, we understand, we can perceive what these different wicked, wrong temptations are that are coming into our mind. And now we have to choose the spiritual answer, man. And this is the fight. It's you versus you. It's your carnal mind versus your spiritual mind. Your carnal mind that is enticed with different lusts that wants you to give into your mind's desire. And then your spiritual mind, which is the actual correct or proper way of thinking. Now that we understand what is right and wrong, and we got the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua in us. So we have to utilize self-awareness to make the correct spiritual decision, right? And win these spiritual battles, man. Galatians 5:17, it says, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. So this is the main battle. Your carnal mind that is subject to what? That's why we were reading in James 1, starting at 12. Your carnal mind is subject to temptation. Your carnal mind is what tempts you and entices you to choose the wrong left-hand option. So, and then your spiritual mind wants you to choose the right-hand option, man. The spiritual choice, the right choice. So it's a constant war in your mind. Are you going to give in to the temptation of this carnal worldly mind, or are you going to give in to what? The temptation of the Holy Spirit, man, the Spirit of the Lord that's egging you on to do the right thing. That's the battle. And we need self-awareness. You need to meditate on what does self-awareness mean, and what what this mind be tempting you on, man. Again, it says Galatians 5:17, for the flesh lusteth against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. Right. So it's a battle. And now the key is that now that we understand what is the right thing to do, now we are aware of both sides. So now the Lord has pretty much given you the choice to do the right thing, man. And we know everything is the Lord's will. We know that there is no such thing as free will. But at the same time, if we are a part of the elect, then we're going to choose the right thing to do, man, which that's the spiritual option. Right? So we got to walk in the spirit, man. Stay in the spirit and observe your mind. Do not be a slave to your emotions and thoughts, but observe your mind, man. And that's where self-awareness is key, because we got to observe what this carnal mind is presenting to you. Look at it, observe the emotions and feelings that you have, and discern what is the correct way to go about them. And that's the self-awareness, man. And that's what the Lord has given us. He's given us what? True self-awareness of our mind stems from knowing what is right and what is truly wrong. These people in this world, they don't know what is the right way to do. Like, they don't really got the self-awareness. They don't have, they cannot discern what to do and what not to do, because they don't know what's right and wrong. All they do is they judge things based off what they believe is right to do. Oh, I don't think there's nothing wrong with eating pork. It's not that unhealthy. My grandfather lived to 100 years old and he ate pork every day. So now I'm going to eat pork. You see, they don't really got self-awareness. They don't know what the right answer is. But we know what the right answer is, man. So we have to utilize self-awareness, which is pretty much to observe your emotions in your mind, to choose the spiritual answer, man, so that we can grow and mature in this thing. Verse 18, it says, but if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these. And remember, we read James 1, and what was it, verse 13? It's going into temptation. And we understand that it's this carnal, worldly mind that tempts you, man. So it's going into what? Everything that is about to list here in Galatians 5 and 19 on down for a little bit is going into the temptations that the carnal mind is going to put you through, man. Now, what are the temptations that this carnal mind is going to put you through? All right. Which again is the temptations are what? How your carnal mind will trigger different emotions and feelings in you. That's trying to entice you to act on them. What are the temptations of your carnal mind? Adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness, which is going into, sexual immorality or immoral conduct, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies. Remember, these are all the temptations that your mind is going to tempt you with. Envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I've also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High. So it just listed pretty much all the temptations that you are going to have to deny. And now that we have self-awareness, man, we are aware of what is the right and wrong choice. In the world, we didn't know what the right choice was. We used our own judgment, and our own judgment was off. So when your carnal mind, when you was in the world and your carnal mind tempted you with adultery, meaning you seen a bad woman, but you seen a beautiful woman, but you seen a ring on her finger. Well, guess what? You in the world, man. So you had that nigga worldly thought process, like, oh man, I'm finna take this dude's woman. I'm finna take his bitch, man. Or damn, what I would do to that woman, even though she had a ring on her finger, man. Because you really didn't have self-awareness, man. Your mind was affected by that beautiful woman, and it tempted you with adultery. But you didn't know it was the right thing to do. The only option you knew was the left-hand option. But now that we are in this truth, when that same situation happens, you walking down the street, it's hot outside, so these women, even married, be walking around butt naked. So you walk outside, you see a beautiful, she may be a comely woman, she may have a pretty face, but then you look down, you see the ring on her finger. Well, guess what? What's going to happen is the internal battle begins. Now your carnal mind is tempting you to be like, oh man, she married, but let me look at her ass. Let me look at her titties. Let me fantasize about this married woman. That's what your carnal mind is tempting you with, man. It's processing the information that you see, and now it's trying to entice you by way of how it's making you feel, the lust. But now we have the self-awareness of the spiritual option. We can perceive the spiritual option now. We can perceive the right option. So now it's the battle has begun. Are you going to choose the carnal route, which is committing adultery in your mind? Which Yahushua said, if you do that, you've already committed it? Or are you going to choose the spiritual option, which is to what? Observe what your carnal mind wants you to do, and then choose the spiritual option, which is to what? You know what? Look away. Don't think about it. Ignore the thoughts that may come into your mind. You see, this is the fight, man. Because if you don't meditate on what is the right thing to do, which is the spiritual option, the right option, man. And what is the spirit? John 6. The spirit is these words, man. It's these words. Who is in these words? Yahushua. So ultimately, the spirit, the spiritual option is to what? To do what these scriptures would say to do, which at the same time, that's doing what Yahushua would do, because Yahushua, it is these words, man. So to be spiritually minded is to try to have the same mind as Yahweh Shai. Do what Yahweh Shai would do. And ultimately that comes with what? By reading and understanding these scriptures, having your mind saturated with these scriptures. And these scriptures tell us what is right versus wrong. So the spiritual option is what? To be spiritually minded is life. So the spiritual option is to, now that we can perceive, we have self-awareness of what the right thing is, which is what these scriptures say is right. Right? What is what Yahweh Shai would do, which is to have the mind of Yahweh Shai. So that you need to meditate on self-awareness. You need to begin to observe your emotions, man. Observe what your carnal mind is tempting you with. And do not be so hasty to just immediately give in to the temptation. And we're reading the temptation. Remember, in Galatians 5:19, these are all temptations, man, that come into your mind. You know, everything is a choice, and it all starts within your mind. That's why Yahweh Shai said, if you committed adultery with your mind, you've already done it. You've essentially done it, because that everything manifests with your mind, man. King David, I believe he seen, I forget her name, but he seen that woman bathing, and then he was lusting after her in his mind. That was the beginning of him later on physically going to commit adultery. That was the beginning of it, when he seen, I think he was in his castle or you know, wherever he was at, and he was up above and he seen her bathing. That was the beginning of that that sin, man. So King David, in that exact example, he failed the battle. He gave in to the carnal mind. He didn't choose the spiritual option. And he committed adultery with his mind. He lusted after her, and then he actually committed it physically. So everything starts within the mind, man. So if you can gain the ability to spiritually observe your thoughts, observe your emotions and feelings that this mind is going to always bombard you with constantly, and then you observe your feelings and emotions, and then now we have the self-awareness of what the spiritual option is. Now you choose the spiritual option, man. And this is how that we can always beat the flesh, to observe your thoughts and do not give in to your emotions and choose the spiritual option. This is how you can overcome this carnal mind, man, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So if we keep reading on, Galatians 5, and I'm going to start at 20 again. Idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and as such like, of the which I tell you before, as I've also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High. But the fruit of the Spirit, now is going into the actual influence that we need to give into, which is the Holy Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh. The right hand influence is what we need to be influenced with. And that's where you get influenced by way of the fruits of the Spirit, the spiritual characteristics and feelings and attributes that we need to apply to our mind is what? Love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Hamashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. And this is key. It said they that are Hamashiachs have crucified. That word crucify means what? To put to death. Okay? So we have, if we truly are Yahweh Shai's, if we are part of the body of Yahweh Shai, we have to what? Put to death the flesh. Or in other words, what? You have to put to death this carnal mind. You have to make this carnal mind obedient to you, to your spiritual mind. So they have crucified, they have put to death the flesh, or this carnal mind, with the affections and lust. You see? So it just told you that this flesh has affections and lust. And the affections and lusts all start within your own mind, man. So if we are truly Yahweh Shai's, if we are truly a part of the body of Yahweh Shai, we have to put to death the affections and lusts that this carnal mind is going to entice you with, man. And how do you put those to death? You put those to death by observing those lusts that it's going to send at you and choose the spiritual option. That's how we put it to death. Because you can never control how your mind is going to react to every little thing, man. You really can't control that. Like, it's really our nature as a man. If I see a woman walking outside with big butt cheeks out, man, my first thing I'm going, as a man, I'm automatically just going to look at the butt, you know? And what if she, you know, I'm behind her. Maybe I can't even see she got a ring on her, you know? So I'm just automatically, that's presented in my face as booty butt cheeks, man. I'm a grown man. I'm going to look at the butt or her back or her neck. Everything about a woman is really enticing, you know? But what? Later on, you may see like, oh man, she got a man, or her man, she may be outside waiting, and then her man come out and they walk together. So, well, hey, what's my point is that your mind is going to entice you. You know, your mind is going to entice you, man. It's going to give you affections that you got to deny, pretty much. Oh, I see that beautiful woman, but let me not look. You know, your mind is already going to give you perverted thoughts, man, about that woman. And you can't really control that. There are certain things you cannot control. And that's why when you read up in verse 20, it went into what? Wrath, strife, seditions. These are all affections and lusts of the carnal mind. You may be getting into you may have a disagreement with a brother. And now, because you had that disagreement and words were exchanged, your carnal mind may entice you. It may tempt you with what? Wicked thoughts toward that man. Hatred, wrath, strife, seditions. So now you may have a disagreement with a brother, but now it's outside of your control. Now this carnal mind is what? Now the carnal mind has presented you with an option, which is what? Those wicked thoughts. Oh, fuck this dude. Fuck this nigga. You know, he's a bum. I got more money than him. So now your carnal mind has presented you with lust, but we have the self-awareness to choose the spirit, man. Just because your carnal mind presents you with those thoughts does not mean that that is you. We are not the carnal mind. We are the spiritual mind, man. We cannot control every little thing that this mind is going to throw at you. And we also know that demons put thoughts into your head. But we are not our carnal mind, and you are not those demons, man. We are the spiritual mind. And the spiritual mind has the self-awareness to observe the temptations of the carnal mind and the demons, and to ignore them and to choose a spiritual option, man. Just because those thoughts those wicked thoughts of a brother may come into your mind does not mean that is you. That is not you. That is simply this carnal mind that we don't really have full control over, enticing you with those lusts. It then becomes you if you act on it, and then you open your mouth and you say those wicked things, or you do something wicked to that brother because you were not spiritual enough. You didn't have the self-awareness to choose the spiritual option. You see? But we have been given the proper self-awareness. We have been given the option, man, to choose the spiritual choice, because the Lord has revealed to us what is truly right versus what is wrong. So now when we are presented with the left hand option or the right hand option, we got to choose the right. And by you choosing the right, that's you crucifying and killing off this carnal mind, man. So Galatians 5:24, it says, and they that are Hamashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and the lusts. So only us that are Yahweh Shai's, are going to be able to really kill off the affections and the lusts that this carnal mind will present to you. And how do we do that? Verse 25, if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. So the only way you can kill off this carnal mind is by living in the Spirit, man. And everything starts in the mind. So the only way you can kill off and crucify this carnal mind and its lust and its temptation is if you think spiritually, man. That is how you kill off this carnal mind, is to think spiritually. Utilize the gift. We all have been gifted self-awareness, man. Remember, what is self-awareness? It is the ability to perceive and see and observe what? The temptations that the carnal mind is going to put you through. Now that we actually have the self-awareness, because we actually know what is right versus what is wrong, now we can actually think spiritually and choose the spiritual option, man. That's how we're killing off this carnal mind, right? Again, verse 25, if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. So we got to think spiritually and live spiritually. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another, which that vainglory is what the carnal mind is going to influence you with. And now you have to deny it and choose the spiritual option. And it's a battle. It's every day, man. It's every day, damn near every second. What I'm realizing, it's a spiritual battle, man. It's a spiritual battle. You go outside, you go to the gas station, and a 2/3 bum, grimy nigga just start something with you, you know? Start some shit on some petty shit, you know, something that y'all can just talk out like men. But he's just trying to entice you on. He trying to egg you on. So now what has begun to happen? Now your carnal mind is starting to influence you. When your emotions get high, that's when it's really easy to choose the spiritual. That's when it's really easy to choose the carnal option. When your emotions get high, when that nigga is doing some niggatry, and you gotta avoid a nigga moment, as they said in Boondocks. When your emotions get high, that's when the carnal mind is really enticing you, man. And not everybody in this world, what would they do? They would just crash out. That's become the new term. Which, to crash out is to basically have no self-awareness and to just choose the carnal option and immediately fight. You see, but us, we have the spiritual mind. So although in that moment, when you're dealing with that bum, with that 2/3, or you're dealing with a crazy lady or whatever it is, we have what? We have the spiritual option now. We can perceive that, you know what, this mortal brain that you have is subject to influences. So now this mortal brain is just making you feel angry. It's making you feel like you just want to do something emotionally. But we have the self-awareness to perceive that temptation, that is that feeling that the carnal mind is trying to control you with. But now, instead of being controlled by the emotions and the feelings that this carnal mind is going to put on you, you actually have the self-awareness to observe, to become an observer of your thoughts and your feelings and emotions. Observe the influence and the feeling that the carnal mind is putting on you, and choose the spiritual option, which would be to try to resolve that situation as spiritually and peacefully as possible, as it lies in you. You know, as the scriptures say, be at peace with all men, if it be possible. So let me get one last scripture, and I believe the point was made, man. Where is it at? 2 Corinthians 13:5. Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how that Yahweh Shai Mashiach is in you, except you be reprobates. So yeah, man, that's the key. Examine yourself. Remember, it all starts within your mind. That's where your spirit's at. Examine your mind at all times. Do not be a slave to your emotions and feelings. Observe the feelings and emotions that the carnal mind entices you with. All right. Choose the spiritual option. Walk in the spirit. Walk in the spirit, meaning what? Have the same mind. Strive to have the same mind as Yahweh Shai. These scriptures should be circulating in our head. We choose the spiritual option. We do what the scriptures say to do. All right. You pray. You have faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and you choose the spiritual option. Examine yourselves whether you be in the faith. Always examine your mind. Examine how it's influenced. Examine how it changes. Don't be hasty to just, as soon as your carnal mind entices you with anger or with impatience, don't be hasty to just act on that feeling and that emotion. Observe the feeling and the emotions that your carnal mind is presenting you with, and choose a spiritual, scriptural answer, So Lord willing, this was edifying. And amen. That's the main battle. That's the main fight. It's the spirit versus the carnal mind. But we are now free through the spirit of what? Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. We are free. We have self-awareness. We can choose the actual spiritual correct answer, because we've killed off this old man with what? The faith in the faith that we have in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, man, and walking in the spirit, living in the spirit. All right, doing what the scriptures say to do, doing what Yahweh Shai would do. All right, be spiritual minded. All right, so Lord willing, this video was edifying. All right, I was gonna get some Romans 8 and verse 1 to 13, but the spirit, I believe that the point was made. So Lord willing, this was edifying. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rakakwadash, and Shalom.